Then Miss Becky Lynch made her return, I guess, a week after finally coming back from being injured, allegedly. That's just what I heard.
Allegedly.
I normally, this is just an in-ring segment. It's just a promo. I try to not necessarily include these when we talk about it because, these happen every week. They're not always that great, but I thought this was actually really good. And
yeah.
Becky hasn't always been the best on the mic, and she still sometimes doesn't have the greatest night speaking. And I thought this was great. And the way that she set it up, it felt like, to me, that she really took it to Trish, but in a less obvious way than how Trish has been presenting herself as the bad guy. Because Trish was just going straight for the jugular, going for her, her kid. And like, that is like the most obvious low-hanging fruit that you could go for that most people will avoid because you don't talk about someone's kids, but she went right for it. And the way that Becky went about it, saying like, oh, thank you, Trish, thank you for this and blah blah blah, but it was very like passive aggressive. I just thought that was such a great way to go about it. And I really should have looked up what she was saying when she kept emphasizing it. I should have looked it up because I loved what she said when she was saying blah 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 it, when you are it, blah 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 it.
Very
like
Jericho. It was very Jericho.
It was just so good. And so that's why I wanted to talk about it. So she does accept the challenge for the match at Night of Champions, which I love that it's a match that doesn't involve a title. I think that's pretty cool. My one concern about this feud, and I've mentioned it, but I want to see them interact more. So I really hope that they're both at Raw next week, which I would assume they will be because it is the go home Raw. But I really just want to see more of their interactions now because we've only really seen them on screen together since they've been feuding, I think, once or twice.
They make it work because they are who they are at this point, and you know that they're just kind of calling each other out, and it's that soliloquy type of thing. And I see that. You don't need them every week going at it, because imagine if they were there every week just saying the same thing back and forth to each other.
Yeah,
it's gonna get repetitive. So I like the fact they break it up there. However, next week you have to have them both, and then maybe a brawl. Like this feels like a brawl feud heading into the pay-per-view for sure. Like maybe even like, all right, maybe not a street fight, but this definitely gives vibes of like no DQ.
I wouldn't be surprised if that's what ends up being the match that's like at Money in the Bank or at SummerSlam. I think that there's probably going to be either like dirty tactics used in the match at Night of Champions, but I think they'll want to wait on the stipulation for a bigger pay-per-view, because I think that makes you even more excited, because especially with a stipulation like a no DQ or no holds barred or a cage match, whatever, not that they're not exciting, but when it comes to the women, it's even more exciting because the women don't get those types of stipulations a lot. So I think it would be cool if they held it off till Money in the Bank or SummerSlam. It depends on what Trish's schedule looks like too, and if she's willing to like go out of the country, because Money in the Bank is in London. So I don't know, but I do think that this does feel similar to what they were trying to do before WrestleMania with Rhea and Charlotte, because that feud was kind of like flat. But then once they got into that brawl, like a week or two before Mania, it was like, okay, you knew that was going to be a fight. So I think that we're getting to that point, like you said, with this. And so it's a lot more exciting than a typical, like, oh yeah, they're just having a legend in there because, oh, sure, like it brings people in. It's like exciting. It's like, no, this actually feels like it has meaning to it.
I would agree with that. Absolutely.